On a quiet morning, life on Earth was moving as it always had. Cities buzzed with the usual rhythm of work, school, and traffic. People in homes, offices, and spacecraft launch centers followed their routines, completely unaware that the course of human history was about to change. Humanity had grown used to being considered a minor player in the galaxy. Other planets and empires had fleets that dwarfed Earth's small defense forces. Most of the advanced technology in space was controlled by these dominant powers, leaving Earth largely underestimated. The humans on Earth accepted their modest place, focusing on survival, research, and small explorations, never imagining that one day they could shake the foundations of interstellar politics. The morning began normally. Scientists monitored satellites. Engineers inspected spacecraft, and military officers ran routine checks on defense systems. Everything seemed ordinary, almost boring. Life on Earth had a predictable pattern, and for most people, the vastness of space was something to watch from a distance, not something they lived in every day. The news talked about distant galactic conflicts, trade disputes, and alliances forming far away, but it all felt like stories from another world. Humans had become spectators of events they had no power to influence. Suddenly, alarms rang across monitoring stations. At first, it was assumed to be a technical error. Sensors had detected something moving fast, something enormous, entering the solar system from beyond the known borders. The object appeared from nowhere, and its speed and size were unlike anything ever recorded. Scientists ran calculations, double-checked the data, and even asked colleagues to verify the readings. The results were the same. There was a massive object approaching Earth, and no one knew where it had come from. The news of the unknown object spread quickly. Panic and curiosity gripped the population. People stared at screens, tracking the trajectory of what some called a mysterious intruder from the depths of space. Governments scrambled to convene emergency meetings, trying to understand the situation before it became a threat. The military analyzed possible outcomes, considering both the best and worst-case scenarios. Civilians worried, not knowing whether this would be the beginning of a disaster or a historic moment for humanity. As the object drew closer, its true nature became visible. It was massive, far larger than any spacecraft humans had ever built. Unlike ordinary ships, it seemed to shine with energy, with surfaces that reflected light in strange, almost metallic patterns. The sensors detected weapon systems, propulsion mechanisms, and technologies that seemed far beyond current human knowledge. Scientists were astonished. This ship was not just advanced, it was revolutionary. And yet, there was something unmistakably human about it. The technology bore the marks of Earth's engineering, the logic of its designers, but at a scale that no one had ever imagined. World leaders convened in emergency sessions. The sudden appearance of the ship forced every nation to rethink their position in the galaxy. Alliances were discussed, military plans revised, and questions asked that had no immediate answers. Who had built the ship? How had it been hidden from the rest of humanity? And most importantly, what was its purpose? Every leader realized that this was not just a military issue. It was a question that could redefine humanity's role in the universe. In the midst of the confusion, the ship broadcast a message. It was simple but powerful. It belonged to humanity. No threats, no demands, just a statement that this massive vessel was Earth's, and it had arrived at the perfect moment. Yet the message created more questions than answers. If this ship belonged to humanity, why had no one known about it? Who controlled it? And why had it chosen this moment to appear? The world was left in awe, fear, and uncertainty, trying to make sense of a reality that had suddenly shifted beneath their feet. People everywhere felt the impact, even if they were far from spaceports and monitoring stations. Families gathered. Around news screens, workers paused their routines to hear updates, and children stared at the sky, imagining what it would be like to see the enormous ship above Earth. Conversations filled with wonder, speculation, and worry spread across cities, towns, and villages. Humanity collectively realized that the galaxy had suddenly grown smaller, and Earth had unexpectedly become important. The scientists closest to the ship struggled to study it. They deployed satellites, sent reconnaissance probes, and attempted communication, but much of its technology remained a mystery. Its systems seemed almost alive, adjusting to threats and moving with precision that human minds found hard to comprehend. Engineers and physicists debated theories, proposing ideas that had never been tested. Every day brought new surprises, every moment a challenge to understand what had been created. Meanwhile, military forces prepared for the worst. Fleets were mobilized, weapons checked, and defensive positions strengthened. Humanity had never faced a force like this before, yet at the same time, there was no real enemy. The Battlecruiser had not fired a shot, had not attacked any ships, and made no hostile movements. The paradox was clear. It was the greatest weapon ever built by humans, yet it had arrived without a battle to fight. Fear and hope mixed together, as the possibility of power without immediate conflict created tension across every nation. Amid all this chaos, ordinary people carried on with their lives, though now with the sense that nothing would ever be the same. Teachers spoke of the ship in classrooms, explaining how humans had suddenly become a factor in the wider galaxy. Street vendors discussed what it meant for trade, travel, and security. Even artists and writers found themselves inspired by the sight of the ship, imagining stories of courage, discovery, and adventure. Every human being, in one way or another, became part of the story of the ship's arrival. Scientists, engineers, and military officers began to work together in ways never seen before. Traditional rivalries were set aside as humanity realized it needed to understand the vessel. Teams analyzed its propulsion systems, studied its materials, and mapped its surface. They discovered technology that allowed it to move faster than light, to repair itself, and even to anticipate potential threats. Every discovery brought excitement, but also a growing awareness of responsibility. Such power in the wrong hands could destroy civilizations. As the first week passed, the ship settled into orbit above Earth, almost like a guardian watching over its creators. People looked up at the sky and wondered what the future held. Some feared war, others dreamed of exploration. But one thing was certain: Earth had changed forever. The balance of power that had kept humans in a minor role across the galaxy was broken before anyone could even fully understand it. The story of humanity had taken an unexpected turn, from a quiet morning of normal life to a world facing unprecedented challenges and possibilities. The arrival of the Battlecruiser marked a new chapter. Humanity was now part of a story much larger than Earth itself, and every choice made in the coming days would shape the destiny of millions across the stars. No one could have predicted what would happen next, but the first step had been taken. A ship appeared from nowhere, a symbol of unknown power, and the universe had taken notice. The calm of ordinary life was gone, replaced by excitement, fear, and the thrilling uncertainty of what it meant to suddenly be a force to reckon with. Humanity was awake, and the galaxy would never forget it. The ship, now known to everyone as the Vanguard, hovered silently above Earth, its massive hull reflecting the light of the sun in sharp, almost blinding flashes. From the ground, people could barely believe what they were seeing. It was enormous, far bigger than any space station or ship humanity had ever built. Its sudden presence dominated the sky like a symbol of power that had appeared overnight. No one knew how it had been built or who had been behind its creation. It seemed to have appeared from nowhere, as if it had always been meant to arrive at this exact moment. Scientists and engineers were still trying to understand its systems. Every day brought new discoveries. Its surface was made from materials that could withstand temperatures far hotter than the sun and energies far stronger than any human weapon. Its engines could propel it across light years and hours, and its weapons were powerful enough to destroy planets. Yet despite its incredible strength, the Vanguard did not move aggressively. It remained in orbit, silent and watchful, almost as if it were alive, observing the humans below it. The world reacted in a mixture of fear and fascination. People watched news broadcasts nonstop, glued to screens that tried to explain what had happened. Social media exploded with videos and speculation. Some called it a miracle, others a warning. Children looked at the sky in awe, dreaming of flying on it, while adults debated what it meant for safety, politics, and the future of humanity. Even those who had never cared about space before found themselves thinking constantly about the ship hovering above their heads. Governments around the world were in constant meetings. Ambassadors, politicians, and military generals tried to understand the implications of the Vanguard. Many feared it was a weapon that could destroy Earth itself, while others saw it as the ultimate tool for security and influence. For centuries, humanity had been underestimated in the galaxy. Other civilizations thought humans were weak, technologically behind, and easy to control. Now, all of that had changed. Humanity had the ultimate weapon, but no one knew how to use it. At the same time, scientists struggled to communicate with the ship. It had systems far beyond human technology. Attempts to send signals were met with responses, but the answers were not in any language humans recognized. Patterns of light, energy pulses, and strange symbols appeared on screens, hinting at intelligence behind the machine. Engineers studied them day and night, trying to decode their meaning. Every breakthrough revealed something new, and every discovery made them more aware of how little they truly understood. While scientists puzzled over the ship, military forces began preparing for all possibilities. Fleets of human ships were mobilized, and every strategic location on Earth and in nearby space was reinforced. The military did not know if the Vanguard was friendly or hostile. They did know, however, that they could not allow such a powerful object to act without supervision. Pilots trained rigorously. Engineers made sure weapons were ready, and command centers worked around the clock. Humanity was caught between fear and hope, trying to control a power it had never imagined possessing. The crew discovered the first signs that the Vanguard was not only advanced, but intelligent in a way humans had never experienced. Systems inside the ship seemed to anticipate human actions, adjusting automatically to protect itself and assist the humans on board. It became clear that the ship was not just a machine, it was more than a collection of metal and circuits. Some scientists began to wonder if it had been designed to think like a human, or even to have a sense of purpose. The thought both thrilled and scared them. As the days passed, the world began to notice changes. The presence of the Vanguard altered how nations interacted with each other. Leaders who had previously been rivals suddenly reconsidered their positions. Diplomats held urgent meetings, trying to find ways to form alliances or prevent conflict. For the first time in centuries, humanity was no longer seen as a minor power. Other civilizations that had ignored or dismissed humans now looked to Earth with interest and caution. Every word, every action mattered more than ever. Civilians felt the shift too. Ordinary life continued, but a sense of excitement and tension filled the air. Teachers spoke of the Vanguard in schools, explaining its significance and encouraging students to dream bigger. Families discussed what it meant for the future, imagining journeys into space and encounters with other civilizations. Even workers on routine jobs felt connected to the story, as if the appearance of the ship had made every person part of something much larger than themselves. News channels, scientists, and social media all shared theories about the Vanguard's origins. Some suggested it had been secretly built on Earth over decades, hidden in remote locations. Others claimed it was the product of alien technology given to humans. Conspiracy theories spread, but no one had real answers. What was undeniable, however, was its impact. Humanity's position in the galaxy had changed forever. The balance of power, once stable and predictable, was now uncertain. The crew of the Vanguard itself became a subject of fascination. Though hidden from view, people speculated about who piloted. Were they military experts, scientists, or volunteers trained in secret? No one knew. Some imagined heroes working tirelessly inside the massive ship, monitoring Earth and preparing for whatever challenges might come. Others feared there might be a conflict between the crew and Earth's leaders. The truth was unknown, but the idea of humans controlling such an advanced machine inspired both hope and anxiety. At the same time, the ship's systems began to interact with Earth's technology. Satellites, communication networks, and energy grids all experienced small, unexplained changes. Engineers realized the ship could enhance human technology, making systems faster, more efficient, and more powerful. The possibilities were endless. Energy crises solved, communications improved, even space travel becoming easier. Yet every benefit came with a warning: such power could be dangerous if misused. The responsibility weighed heavily on humanity. In the cities, people watched the sky at night, captivated by the ship's presence. It was like a new sun, casting light and shadow across the planet. Some prayed for protection, others for wisdom. Artists painted pictures, writers wrote stories, and children dreamed of flying among the stars. Humanity had been given a gift, but it was also a challenge, one that required courage, intelligence, and unity. The first weeks also revealed the ship's defensive capabilities. Test simulations showed that even the combined fleets of Earth's nations would be no match for the Vanguard if it decided to act aggressively. Missiles, lasers, and traditional weapons had little effect on its hull. The realization that humanity now controlled, or at least had access to, the most powerful weapon in its history, caused a mix of awe and fear. Leaders understood that the slightest mistake could trigger disaster, but they also knew the opportunity to protect and strengthen Earth was unprecedented. As humans adapted to the new reality, they began to understand something crucial. The Vanguard was not a threat unless humans made it one. It was a tool, a machine of incredible intelligence and power, waiting for guidance. For the first time in history, humanity had the chance to step into a larger role in the galaxy, not as a minor player, but as a force that could shape events, protect itself, and inspire other civilizations. Yet even with this awareness, uncertainty remained. What other powers in the galaxy would respond to Earth's new strength? Would old rivals become enemies, or would they seek alliances? The answers were unknown, and speculation fueled both excitement and fear. Every day was filled with tension, but also with hope that humanity could rise to the occasion. In homes, offices, and schools, people talked about the Vanguard constantly. It became a symbol of human potential, a reminder that even the smallest nations could achieve greatness. It inspired innovation, curiosity, and imagination. Children designed their own ships, engineers experimented with new ideas, and scientists pushed the boundaries of knowledge. The presence of the Vanguard changed not just the sky, but human thinking itself. Despite the excitement, leaders and citizens alike understood that vigilance was essential. The ship's arrival did not guarantee safety. Careful decisions, cooperation, and strategic thinking were necessary to ensure that humanity used this new power wisely. The responsibility weighed heavily, but it also united people in a common purpose. As weeks turned into months, humanity began to adapt. The Vanguard became a part of life on Earth, a constant presence in the sky and in people's minds. The initial shock and fear slowly transformed into respect, wonder, and determination. People realized that the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The arrival of the ship marked the start of a new era, where humans had the tools to protect themselves, explore further, and take their place among the stars. And yet, as peaceful as the Vanguard seemed, everyone knew that its true purpose had not yet been revealed. The ship had arrived silently, but the universe was watching. Every action, every decision, every communication could ripple across the galaxy. Humanity had entered a new chapter, one filled with possibility, danger, and the thrilling uncertainty of what it meant to finally hold power in their own hands. The presence of the Vanguard in Earth's orbit was no longer just a mystery. It had become the center of human attention. Every news channel, every online forum, and every conversation seemed to revolve around the ship. People couldn't stop asking the same questions. Who built it? Why did it appear now? And most importantly, what would it do next? The world was captivated, but beneath the awe was a growing tension. Humanity had never faced a force like this before, and even though the ship seemed peaceful, the possibilities of what it could do were terrifying. Governments struggled to maintain control over the situation. Emergency meetings were held daily, with scientists, military leaders, and political advisors debating the best course of action. Some argued that they should try to communicate with the ship more directly, hoping to unlock its secrets and gain an advantage over other nations. Others worried that such actions could provoke the unknown intelligence within the Vanguard, turning what seemed like a peaceful presence into a destructive force. Every decision carried enormous weight, and no one could afford a mistake. Meanwhile, diplomats from other civilizations began sending messages to Earth. The galaxy had been watching humans quietly for centuries, assuming they were weak, primitive, and unimportant. Now, other powers could not ignore the sudden appearance of the Vanguard. Messages poured in from neighboring systems. Some were cautious, others hostile, and a few surprisingly friendly. Ambassadors and leaders debated how to respond, knowing that any wrong move could trigger conflict. The balance of power in the galaxy, long stable, had shifted in an instant, and humans were suddenly part of a much larger story. People on Earth were divided in their reactions. Some were overjoyed, seeing the Vanguard as proof that humans were capable of incredible achievements. They imagined a future where Earth could travel to distant stars, defend itself from threats, and even negotiate as an equal among other civilizations. Others, however, were terrified. They saw the ship as a danger that could wipe out humanity if it ever turned hostile, or if other galactic powers decided to strike first. Fear mixed with excitement, and the world seemed to move as one, focused on the same questions and uncertainties. The scientists working closest to the Vanguard faced challenges unlike any in history. Every system they studied seemed to respond to human thought and action, almost as if the ship could understand intent. Attempts to communicate using conventional signals like pulses, radio waves, or coded messages produced strange responses. Sometimes patterns of energy would shift in ways that suggested the ship was thinking, analyzing, or even testing humanity. Researchers were thrilled and frustrated at the same time. They realized that the ship was not only advanced, but intelligent, in ways humans were only beginning to understand. The crew within the Vanguard, if indeed there was a human crew, remained a mystery. Some believed the ship operated autonomously, controlled by advanced artificial intelligence that had been secretly developed on Earth. Others thought a team of humans might have been working inside the ship in secret for years, preparing for the moment when the Vanguard would reveal itself. The truth was unknown, but speculation only fueled the fascination. People imagined pilots and engineers working tirelessly in the vast interior of the ship, guiding its movements and monitoring the universe. Tensions in the military escalated. As well, while the ship had not displayed any aggression, its capabilities were unmatched. Military planners ran simulations, testing their fleets against the Vanguard. Every test showed the same result. Traditional weapons would not harm it. Missiles, lasers, and even experimental energy weapons had almost no effect. The realization that humans were in possession of a nearly invincible force created a mix of awe, pride, and fear. Commanders knew that with great power came great responsibility, and any miscalculation could lead to disaster. Amid all this, the people of Earth continued to live their lives, but nothing felt ordinary anymore. Schools incorporated lessons about the ship and its potential, inspiring students to dream about space and technology. Artists captured its image in paintings, music, and stories. Children played imagining themselves aboard the Vanguard, flying past distant stars and defending humanity from threats. Ordinary workers, while still performing their jobs, discussed the implications of the ship at every opportunity. The Vanguard had become a symbol of possibility, uniting humanity in ways that had never been seen before. The arrival of the ship also revealed the fragility of human understanding. While scientists had made progress in studying the Vanguard, every answer uncovered new questions. Its energy systems could produce enough power to supply entire cities for decades, yet they operated silently and without visible exhaust. Its propulsion systems allowed it to move faster than light, yet no human could comprehend the mechanics fully. Even its communications seemed alive, responding to human signals and patterns that suggested thought and intelligence. The deeper humanity looked, the more they realized how little they truly understood. Diplomatic pressure increased daily. Other civilizations sent envoys to Earth, some requesting peaceful negotiations, others issuing veiled threats. Humanity now had the power to protect itself, but it was not prepared to wield that power on an interstellar scale. Leaders worked tirelessly to find a balance between caution and assertiveness. One wrong move could spark war, yet inaction could leave Earth vulnerable. Every decision was debated endlessly, and every diplomat knew the stakes had never been higher. People began to experience the psychological impact of the Vanguard's presence. The ship had become a constant reminder of humanity's place in the universe, both its potential and its fragility. Anxiety and wonder walked hand in hand. Citizens found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about life, progress, and power. Families spoke late into the night about what the future might hold. Friends debated over meals, and strangers shared speculation on the streets. The ship had changed the way humans thought, acted, and even dreamed, while fear and curiosity dominated. Public perception, hope also grew. Scientists believed that the ship could accelerate human understanding of space, energy, and technology. Engineers saw possibilities for new inventions inspired by the Vanguard. Military leaders hoped that Earth's newfound strength could deter conflicts and protect humanity. Even ordinary people felt empowered, imagining a world where humans could finally defend themselves and play a role among the stars. The potential was enormous, but it came with a clear warning. Power without wisdom could destroy as easily as it could protect. Communication. Attempts between Earth and the Vanguard continued. Researchers experimented with every known method: light, pulses, sound waves, electromagnetic signals, but the responses were always complex, often almost poetic in their structure. Sometimes the ship would respond in ways that suggested humor, curiosity, or caution. Scientists marveled at these interactions, realizing that if the ship had intelligence, it was not merely a machine. It might have its own understanding of humans, of life, and of the universe. The thought was both thrilling and unsettling. Meanwhile, Leaders of other nations watched closely. Alliances shifted, new agreements were proposed, and old rivalries were tested by the presence of the ship. Some leaders sought to work with humanity, hoping to gain favor and access to the technology. Others viewed the ship as a threat, secretly preparing for the possibility of conflict. Earth was no longer just a planet with a small military. It was a player in a larger, unpredictable cosmic game. Every decision, every signal, and every reaction was now part of a much larger strategy. Being played across the galaxy, the Vanguard's impact was not limited to politics and science. It began to inspire cultural change as well. Literature, art, and music reflected humanity's awe and fear. Stories about courage, exploration, and the unknown spread rapidly. Children dreamed of flying among the stars. Engineers experimented with new designs, and everyday life began to incorporate the presence of the ship into routine thought. Humanity, for the first time, seemed capable of uniting around a shared vision, even amid uncertainty and fear. Despite the growing fascination, caution remained the guiding principle. Military planners, scientists, and diplomats understood that the Vanguard could not be taken lightly. While it had not shown hostility, no one could predict what would happen if provoked or if external forces decided to challenge Earth. Every simulation, every experiment, and every communication effort emphasized respect, patience, and careful planning. The lessons were clear. This was power unlike any other, and humanity had to grow into its responsibility. As weeks passed, patterns in the ship's behavior began to emerge. It seemed to respond to human emotions and intentions. When tensions on Earth rose, subtle changes occurred in its systems. When humans collaborated, even in small ways, the ship appeared to stabilize, almost as if it could sense unity. Scientists and engineers speculated that the ship had been designed to interact with humanity, not only physically, but psychologically. Its purpose might be more than defense. It might be a guide, a test, or even a partner in the journey of human advancement. The people of Earth had begun to accept that the Vanguard was now a permanent part of their reality. It would not disappear, and it would not remain a passive observer. Humanity, The days passed, and the world had begun to adjust to the Vanguard's presence above Earth. Its massive hull shimmered in the sunlight, visible from every corner of the planet, a constant reminder that life had changed forever. People were both fascinated and anxious. While some saw it as humanity's ultimate protector, others feared that it might draw attention from civilizations far stronger than Earth, civilizations that might see humans as a threat or a prize to be conquered. Humanity's rise in the galaxy was sudden, and with sudden power came sudden challenges. Diplomatic channels became busier than ever. Messages poured in from alien civilizations that had been observing Earth from afar. Some sent polite warnings. Others demanded explanations, and a few offered alliances, eager to be on friendly terms with the planet that now commanded the most advanced battlecruiser in known space. Leaders of Earth met with their advisors, discussing strategies to respond to these messages. Every decision mattered. Every word could spark peace or conflict. Humanity had no experience with interstellar politics on this scale, yet suddenly, every eye in the galaxy was on them. The military's role became more complicated. Earth's leaders realized that while the Vanguard was powerful, it could not be everywhere at once. Fleets had to remain vigilant. Borders in space had to be monitored and communication networks secured. Human forces trained constantly, preparing for scenarios that had previously existed only in simulations or science fiction. The presence of the Vanguard was a deterrent, but it was not an impenetrable shield. Humanity was learning quickly that strength alone was not enough strategy. Intelligence and unity were just as important. Meanwhile, scientists and engineers continued their efforts to understand the Vanguard systems. The ship's technology was beyond anything previously encountered. It could repair itself, respond to environmental changes, and even anticipate potential threats. Every new discovery raised more questions. How had humans created such a machine without anyone knowing? Could it think independently, or did it simply follow instructions? Could it communicate with humans beyond what they already knew? Researchers worked day and night, knowing that understanding the ship could change not only military and scientific knowledge, but humanity's place in the universe itself. Communication with alien civilizations became even more tense. Envoys from different empires appeared in orbit or sent holographic messages, some in elegant and complex forms, others direct and threatening. Some demanded to know Earth's intentions, while others simply watched, waiting to see how humans would act. Humanity's response had to be careful. Acting too aggressively could provoke war, while appearing weak could invite exploitation. Leaders realized that they were walking a delicate line, one that could determine the future of the planet. People on Earth felt the changes deeply. Ordinary life continued, but everything was colored by the presence of the Vanguard. Children learned about the ship in schools, imagining themselves flying among the stars. Families discussed strategies for survival, exploration, and diplomacy. Citizens debated the moral implications of wielding such power. The ship had become more than a tool. It was a symbol of humanity's potential and responsibility, a mirror reflecting both the best and worst of what humans could achieve. First signs of tension came when the Vanguard intervened indirectly in a dispute between two neighboring alien civilizations. Both powers had been on the verge of war over resources in a distant system. Suddenly, their fleets paused, withdrawing to reconsider. The energy signatures of the Vanguard had appeared in the region, though no attack had been made. Scientists studying the data confirmed that its presence alone had caused the rival fleets to hesitate. Humanity had unintentionally become a decisive factor in interstellar conflict. This revelation caused both excitement and fear on Earth. People realized that humanity could influence events on a galactic scale without firing a single shot. Yet, the responsibility weighed heavily. Could humans be trusted with such power? Could they navigate the complexities of civilizations far older, larger, and more advanced than their own? The thought was thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. Leaders, scientists, and ordinary citizens all understood that humanity was entering a new era, one in which every decision could ripple across star systems. The Vanguard itself became a topic of fascination. While no one had direct access to its control systems, it was clear that it was responding to human actions and intentions. Scientists noticed patterns in its movement and energy output that suggested awareness, even intelligence. When humans acted in unity or demonstrated cooperation, the ship appeared to stabilize and function smoothly. When conflicts or divisions arose, subtle anomalies in its systems were detected. Some researchers began to believe that the Vanguard was more than a machine. It might be a guide, encouraging humans to act responsibly while giving them a tool of immense power. Military planners faced the same realization. The ship's influence was not limited to direct combat. Its presence could deter wars, shift alliances, and reshape political landscapes. Fleets had to learn to operate alongside the Vanguard without relying solely on its power. Training simulations emphasized collaboration, adaptability, and judgment. Every human involved understood that while the ship was a force of incredible strength, it was not invincible. Misuse, misunderstanding, or miscommunication could lead to disaster down the world. Also saw changes in culture and society. Artists, writers, and musicians were inspired by the Vanguard's arrival. Stories about courage, exploration, and responsibility filled books, screens, and stages. Children dreamed of flying among the stars. Engineers experimented with new technologies. and ordinary citizens felt a sense of pride in being part of a species capable of such achievement. Humanity's mindset shifted from one of small-scale survival to thinking on a galactic scale. The ship had not just arrived in orbit, it had arrived in human consciousness. Even as fascination grew, so did caution. Leaders emphasized patience and wisdom, knowing that any rash action could provoke an unintended response from other civilizations or even the ship itself. Strategy meetings focused on long-term goals, alliances, and the careful use of the Vanguard's capabilities. Every communication, every mission, every decision was deliberate. Humanity was learning that power without discipline could be as dangerous as any external threat. Scientists discovered small but significant ways the Vanguard could interact with Earth. It could amplify energy systems, stabilize communications, and enhance transportation networks. Some cities experimented with pilot projects, using the ship's influence to improve efficiency and sustainability. The potential for progress was immense, but every advancement reminded humans that the Vanguard's power was not to be taken lightly. Technology alone could not solve all problems. It required wisdom, unity, and ethical decision-making. Public reaction continued to evolve. At first, fear had dominated conversations, but now curiosity and excitement took a stronger role. People began to believe that humanity could rise to the challenge, that humans could not only defend themselves, but also shape the future of the galaxy. Schools incorporated lessons about ethics, responsibility, and diplomacy alongside science and engineering. Citizens engaged in debates about morality, leadership, and the consequences of decisions on a cosmic scale. The ship had become a teacher as well as a tool, guiding humanity toward a broader understanding of its place in the universe. Even ordinary moments were colored by the Vanguard's presence. People watched the sky in awe, appreciating the scale and beauty of the ship. Families gathered on rooftops and beaches, looking up at the silent guardian hovering above. Conversations filled with wonder, speculation, and philosophical reflection became part of daily life. Humanity had been given a gift, a challenge, and a responsibility all at once. The experience united people in a way that no single event had before, yet tension was never far away. Alien civilizations watched carefully, noting how humans responded to the presence of the Vanguard. Some plotted secretly, preparing for possible conflict or attempting to influence Earth's decisions. Others observed quietly, waiting to see if humans could act wisely. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and every action was now part of a much larger chessboard. Humanity had been thrust into a game far bigger than itself, one with rules that were only partially understood. As weeks turned into months, humanity began to understand that cooperation was essential. Scientists, engineers, military leaders, and politicians worked together in ways they never had before. Rivalries and disputes were set aside in the interest of survival and progress. Communication with the Vanguard, while still mysterious, began to produce small breakthroughs. Patterns were deciphered, responses interpreted, and humans began to grasp the logic behind its intelligence. Every discovery, no matter how small, reinforced the understanding that this was not just a machine, but a partner in humanity's journey. The first real test of human diplomacy came when a nearby alien fleet approached the edge of Earth's territory. The fleet had not attacked, but its presence was a clear warning. Earth's leaders debated how to respond. Some wanted to deploy military power immediately, relying on the Vanguard to assert dominance. Others argued for caution, attempting to communicate NDE. The days following the alien fleet's pause were tense, but filled with hope. Earth had passed its first real test of diplomacy, and the humans were beginning to understand the power they held with the Vanguard. Yet the universe did not wait for humanity to become comfortable. Far beyond Earth's orbit, A conflict had been brewing for years quietly, unnoticed by most civilizations. Two empires, both strong and ambitious, had been vying for control over a rich star system filled with valuable resources. Skirmishes had already occurred, with each side suffering losses. The tensions were escalating, and no one had anticipated that humans, or the vanguard, would play a role. The first sign that the situation had reached a critical point came when sensors detected a large fleet moving toward the disputed system. The two empires were ready to clash in full force, and the outcome could have destabilized that part of the galaxy for decades. Earth scientists and military leaders observed the situation with growing concern, though the conflict was far from human territory. The proximity of the vanguard made it clear that the humans now had influence. They had the ability to intervene, to prevent disaster, or to change the outcome entirely. The decision weighed heavily on Earth's leaders. Sending the vanguard to interfere in an alien conflict was not a decision to be taken lightly. Diplomats argued about the risks. What if their intervention was seen as an act of aggression? What if the vanguard was damaged, or worse, captured? Military strategists considered the potential consequences if the two empires joined forces against Earth. Yet, there was also an opportunity, a chance to show that humans could wield power responsibly and protect not only themselves, but others as well. Ultimately, the decision was made. Humanity would act, but carefully. The vanguard would move into position, visible but non-aggressive, and signals would be transmitted to the rival fleets, urging negotiation and restraint. The hope was that the presence of the ship would demonstrate power without violence, influence, without destruction. The world watched in anxious silence as the massive ship left orbit, moving faster than any human vessel had ever traveled, toward the conflict dot. As the vanguard approached the disputed star system, the two fleets noticed its arrival almost immediately. Sensors recorded energy signatures, movement patterns, and weapon systems far beyond anything the empires had ever seen. Messages were sent back and forth, warnings issued, but the vanguard remained calm and deliberate, showing no hostility. Its presence alone forced both sides to pause, reassess, and reconsider their plans. Humanity had become a player in a game. They had never intended to join, and yet the influence of the vanguard was undeniable. For people on Earth, the event was both thrilling and terrifying. Citizens watched news feeds, hoping for a peaceful resolution, but fearing the worst. Families gathered around screens, children asked questions, and even those who had once ignored space news now followed every detail. The vanguard had not fired a shot, yet its actions were changing the course of events across light years. People began to understand what it meant to be powerful, and with that understanding came responsibility and anxiety. The crews monitoring the vanguard systems worked tirelessly, coordinating movements, analyzing sensor data, and transmitting messages to the alien fleets. Every maneuver had to be precise, every communication carefully considered. Even small mistakes could be interpreted as aggression. Scientists discovered that the ship was capable of projecting energy fields and signals that could calm tensions, influence decisions, and create a sense of caution among the rival fleets. It was a display of strength without destruction, a power the humans had never imagined wielding. As the hours passed, it became clear that the intervention was having an effect. Both empires slowed their movements, sent messages of willingness to negotiate, and reconsidered their strategies. Analysts on Earth watched in awe as the conflict that had seemed inevitable began to de-escalate. The vanguard had not fought, yet it had stopped a war before it began. Humanity had demonstrated for the first time that it could influence events on a galactic scale through strategy, intelligence, and the presence of superior technology rather than sheer violence. Yet the situation remained delicate. Diplomats cautioned that one wrong signal, one misinterpreted movement, could reignite hostilities. Scientists observed the ship, learning more about its intelligence, its decision-making processes, and its ability to respond to complex situations. They began to understand that the Vanguard was not simply a weapon, it was a partner, a guide, and a tool capable of influencing not just humans, but the larger universe. Every lesson learned in this operation would shape humanity's future actions and policies. On Earth, the reaction was overwhelming. News outlets reported on the peaceful intervention, emphasizing that humans had prevented bloodshed through courage, wisdom, and the careful use of technology. Schools incorporated lessons about responsibility, ethics, and strategy, inspired by the real-world demonstration of the Vanguard's capabilities. People discussed the event endlessly, imagining new possibilities for diplomacy, exploration, and cooperation. Humanity was no longer just a small planet struggling to survive. It was a species capable of making meaningful decisions that affected countless lives beyond its borders. The success of the intervention brought pride, but also awareness. Humans had seen what they could accomplish, but they also knew the universe was vast and unpredictable. Other civilizations were watching, learning from every action, evaluating whether Earth could be trusted, feared, or challenged. The balance of power had shifted, but it remained fragile. Humanity had stepped onto a stage far larger than itself, and every subsequent move would require careful thought and unity. The crews and scientists working with the Vanguard experienced both exhilaration and exhaustion. Long hours were spent analyzing data, coordinating strategies, and communicating with alien civilizations. Sleep was scarce, and stress was high, yet the sense of purpose was stronger than ever. They understood that their actions were shaping not just immediate outcomes, but the long-term role of humanity in the galaxy. Every choice mattered. Every calculation had consequences far beyond their own planet. Meanwhile, the Vanguard itself seemed to respond intelligently to the situation. Its movements were deliberate, its systems adaptive, and its energy output carefully measured. Scientists observed that the ship appeared to anticipate the reactions of the alien fleets, adjusting its position to maintain balance and prevent escalation. The more humans studied it, the more they realized that the Vanguard was not a simple tool, but a partner capable of guiding humanity through situations they could not yet fully understand. The peaceful resolution of the conflict brought a surge of hope to Earth. People celebrated, not just for the absence of war, but for the demonstration that humanity could act responsibly on a galactic stage. Leaders emphasized that this was only the beginning. The Vanguard had shown power, but it had also shown that true strength came from wisdom, cooperation, and careful judgment. Humanity had learned a lesson that would shape its approach to diplomacy, military strategy, and exploration for decades to come. Cultural responses were immediate. Artists, writers, and musicians drew inspiration from the event, capturing the story of the Vanguard and its peaceful intervention. Children imagined themselves as peacemakers, scientists, and explorers. Families discussed ethics, responsibility, and courage. Even everyday work carried a new sense of purpose. Humanity had witnessed a demonstration of influence that relied not on violence, but on intelligence, ethics, and strategic thinking. It was a moment that changed the way people viewed themselves and their place in the universe. The intervention also sent a clear message to other civilizations. Humans were no longer a minor player. The Vanguard's presence proved that Earth had the power to influence events, prevent wars, and protect itself and others. Empires that had once dismissed. Humanity now reconsidered their strategies, reassessing whether to engage, ally, or challenge the planet. The balance of power had not only shifted, it had been rewritten in ways That would be felt across light-years. As the Vanguard returned to orbit above Earth, people watched in awe and relief. The ship had accomplished what no human fleet could have done alone. It had prevented a war, demonstrated intelligence and strategy, and inspired a species to think beyond fear and limitation. Scientists, engineers, military leaders, and ordinary citizens alike felt a new sense of possibility. Humanity had taken its first decisive step into a larger universe, and the lessons learned would guide them for years to come. Despite the victory, caution remained. Diplomats knew that other challenges would arise, other conflicts that would test humanity's judgment and the capabilities of the Vanguard. Leaders emphasized that power must be balanced with responsibility, that every action must be measured, and that the presence of the ship did not guarantee safety, only potential. Humanity had been given an unprecedented opportunity, but it came with the weight of understanding, patience, and careful planning. At night, people across the planet gazed up at the Vanguard. It floated silently above, massive, powerful, and enigmatic. Its presence reminded humans of their potential, their responsibility, and the vast, unpredictable universe that awaited them. Humanity had prevented a double. Months had passed since the Vanguard first appeared above Earth. The ship had become more than a marvel. It was a symbol, a guide, and a constant presence in the sky that reminded humanity of both its potential and responsibility. Earth had survived its first challenges in the galaxy, and the lessons had been many. Humans now understood that power without wisdom could be dangerous, and influence without care could lead to catastrophe. The Vanguard had taught them that strength was most valuable when paired with patience, intelligence, and ethics. The planet was changing. Governments and scientists worked together like never before, forming councils that combined knowledge, strategy, and diplomacy. Conflicts that once consumed attention and resources were now redirected toward understanding the universe, developing new technologies, and improving life on Earth. People began to feel more united, recognizing that the presence of the Vanguard affected every person, not just leaders or scientists. Humanity's future had expanded beyond national borders, and citizens were encouraged to think globally and even beyond Earth. The first challenge of this new era came when a distant system sent a delegation of envoys to Earth. Their civilization had been observing humans since the Vanguard appeared and wanted to establish formal relations. The humans were nervous. They had never engaged in such high-stakes diplomacy with an alien power, but the Vanguard's influence gave them confidence. Its presence was a silent reassurance, a reminder that humans now had both the means and the responsibility to act wisely. Meetings were conducted with precision, and every message was carefully chosen. Humanity wanted to show respect, intelligence, and readiness for collaboration, not aggression. During these negotiations, the Vanguard demonstrated its intelligence once again. Subtle changes in its energy patterns and movements seemed to guide the humans, ensuring communication was clear and that misunderstandings were avoided. Scientists marveled at this, realizing that the ship was not simply a machine. It was a partner, providing guidance in situations far beyond human experience. For the first time, humans felt that the universe was not an uncontrollable threat, but a space in which they could interact meaningfully. If they acted with care and wisdom. At the same time, human technology advanced at an unprecedented rate. Inspired by the Vanguard, engineers and scientists developed new energy sources, propulsion systems, and communication networks. Cities became more efficient, space programs expanded rapidly, and humanity's knowledge of physics and engineering took leaps forward. Yet with every breakthrough, the lesson remained clear. Progress without responsibility could be dangerous. The Vanguard was a tool, yes, but it also served as a constant reminder that power must be tempered with thoughtfulness and caution. The next significant test came when a group of aggressive civilizations formed a coalition, attempting to intimidate Earth. They believed humans were inexperienced, reckless, and unworthy of the vanguard's power. Messages were sent, threats were made, and fleets were mobilized near Earth's borders. Citizens around the world held their breath. The situation could have escalated into a catastrophic war, but humans were no longer unprepared. They had learned to act strategically, using diplomacy, intelligence, and the vanguard itself as tools to prevent unnecessary destruction. The vanguard moved once again, positioning itself where it could be seen clearly by all hostile fleets. Its energy signatures pulsed with quiet authority, and sensors recorded patterns that suggested awareness of enemy intentions. Humans transmitted careful, respectful messages, offering negotiations and seeking peaceful resolutions. It was a delicate dance of power, communication, and patience. Earth's leaders knew that a single misstep could ignite war, but the humans had grown wiser. They had learned from past challenges, from observing the vanguard, and from understanding the importance of unity. After days of tension, the aggressive coalition backed down. The humans had demonstrated that their strength was not only physical, but strategic. The vanguard had once again acted without firing a shot, and humanity had proved that intelligence, restraint, and careful planning could achieve results that brute force never could. The world erupted in celebration, but it was tempered with reflection. Humans understood that every victory in the galaxy required humility, awareness, and continued learning. The universe was vast and unpredictable, and the lessons of the past months would shape their actions for decades. Cultural shifts continued across Earth. Art, literature, and media celebrated humanity's new role in the galaxy, focusing on courage, intelligence, and cooperation rather than war and conquest. Schools taught lessons about ethics, responsibility, and strategy, alongside science and mathematics. Ordinary people discussed philosophy and morality in new ways, considering the broader consequences of human action. Even daily life felt different. The presence of the vanguard reminded everyone that they were part of something much larger than themselves. The scientific community reached new milestones as well. Teams working with the vanguard discovered methods to improve human technology exponentially. Energy systems could sustain entire cities. Communication networks could operate faster than ever, and space travel was no longer limited by traditional propulsion systems. Yet the humans remained cautious. They knew that technological advancement, without understanding, without ethics, could lead to disasters. Every step forward was measured, deliberate, and guided by the lessons learned from both the vanguard and the galaxy's response to human actions. Humanity's role in the galaxy began to solidify. Neighboring civilizations, once wary or dismissive, started to seek alliances, collaborations, and exchanges. Humans were recognized as intelligent, capable, and responsible actors in interstellar affairs. The vanguard, silent and ever-present, had not only protected Earth, but had elevated humanity's status in ways that no human leader could have achieved alone. The ship had become both a shield and a teacher, showing that true power is measured not just by strength, but by wisdom, strategy, and foresight. The next years were marked by exploration. Humans, inspired by the vanguard, launched missions beyond the solar system, discovering new worlds, resources, and civilizations. Scientists documented alien life, technologies, and histories, expanding humanity's understanding of the cosmos. Pilots and explorers returned with stories that seemed fantastical to previous generations. Children who had grown up under the shadow of the vanguard dreamed not of war, but of discovery, learning, and peaceful interaction. The universe had opened itself to humanity, but only because humans had proven themselves capable of restraint and understanding. Earth itself benefited from the vanguard's influence. Climate management systems improved, energy crises were mitigated, and global cooperation increased. People began to think of themselves not as citizens of one nation, but as citizens of a planet, united by shared experiences and challenges. The presence of the vanguard had inspired a new sense of purpose. Humanity was no longer confined to its small world. It had a place among the stars, and with that place came responsibility, awareness, and a chance to leave a lasting mark on the universe. Even the vanguard seemed to change subtly over time. Its systems adapted, energy patterns shifted, and its presence became a steady guide for humans, almost as if it were teaching them how to act responsibly on a galactic scale. Scientists noted that it seemed to reward cooperation, careful planning, and ethical behavior, while subtly discouraging recklessness. The ship was more than a machine. It was a mentor, silently guiding humanity toward maturity, wisdom, and unity. The ultimate lesson of the vanguard's arrival became clear. Power is not only measured by strength or technology, but by the choices made in its use. Humanity had faced threats, diplomatic challenges, and moral dilemmas, and had learned to respond with intelligence, strategy, and ethics. The galaxy had taken notice, and humans had earned respect and influence. But more importantly, Earth's citizens had learned to look beyond fear and ambition, to think collectively, and to act as stewards not only of their own planet, but of the larger universe. In the final months of this new era, Earth began to formalize its role in interstellar affairs. Alliances were formed, councils were established, and new treaties were signed with neighboring civilizations. Humans acted as mediators, explorers, and responsible leaders, guided by the lessons learned through their first encounters, interventions, and interactions. The vanguard remained central to this new era, a silent partner in the journey, a symbol of strength, wisdom, and hope. And at night, when people looked up at the vanguard hovering above the planet, they saw not only a ship of unimaginable power, but also a reflection of humanity itself. It symbolized courage, responsibility, and the potential for greatness. It reminded humans that their actions mattered, not just on Earth, but across the stars. They had been tested, they had grown, and they had proven that with wisdom, cooperation, and courage, humanity could rise to meet any challenge. The balance of power in the galaxy had changed forever, and Earth had taken its place among the stars. The vanguard had arrived from nowhere, but its impact was lasting, transforming humanity into a species capable of protecting itself, influencing others, and exploring the cosmos with integrity and responsibility. It was not just a ship, it was the beginning